is 9 News.
Good morning. As we go to air, the Middle East is on edge as nuclear-armed Pakistan launches airstrikes on Iranian militant targets. Let's go to US correspondent Alison Prochowski. And Alison, tensions in the region are high.
Yeah, that's right. Good morning to you, Sarah. Pakistan says it was targeting terrorist hideouts in southeastern provinces in Iran. We know that at least 7 people were killed in the attack, Sarah, including women and children. And crucially, we should point out that this is the first land attack, the first external land attack on Iran since Saddam Hussein's forces invaded back in the 80s, which at the time, Sarah, sparked a vicious 8-year war. Now, these strikes were in retaliation to missile and drone strikes that Iran had launched on Pakistan just 24 hours earlier. So we are seeing a very dangerous back and forth unfolding between 2 nuclear-armed states. Let's hear from Pakistan's Foreign Ministry.
This morning's action was taken in light of credible intelligence of impending large-scale terrorist activities against Pakistan by these terrorists. This action is a manifestation of Pakistan's unflinching resolve to protect and defend its national security against all threats.
Meantime, for the 4th time in a week, the United States has struck Houthi military targets in Yemen. The United States is adamant that it will continue striking the Houthis if they keep attacking ships in the Red Sea. Also in the last 24 hours, Israel announcing that they have successfully struck 2 Hezbollah targets in southern Lebanon, which we are seeing those strikes on our screen at the moment. So look, a pretty volatile 24 hours, Sarah, as this war now far extends beyond the borders of Gaza and Israel.
It is a concern. Ali, thank you so much. Australian military bases could soon be used as testing sites for Japanese missiles. According to Nine's Financial Review, officials from both countries are in talks which could see Australia become part of Japan's missile development program. It comes as the Defence Department confirms collaboration is already underway on long-range guided weapons and integrated air and missile defence. A surge of sewage is being swept across Sydney Harbour and its beaches, with swimmers being advised to hold off today from swimming until the weekend amid health concerns. Recent heavy rain is causing pollution to leak into stormwater, which is now riddling almost all swimming spots with bacteria, with beaches including Bronte, Freshwater, Coogee and Clovelly entering the red zone. Beach Watch advises it may take up to 72 hours for water to fully clear after heavy rainfall. It's been revealed that locals in Sydney's inner west notified the government about asbestos in Rozelle Parklands a week before any action was taken. Due to staff on holiday, the email was not read for days. When experts were finally sent out to test the playgrounds, the results came back positive. The park now has 14 locations closed off to the public and will remain closed for at least 6 weeks. 2 teenage boys are waking up behind bars this morning, charged with the murder of Victorian doctor Ash Gordon. His sister, now left to plan his funeral next week, has spoken about hearing the devastating news.
I felt anger, a whole new wave of sadness, but instantly I did just feel like a big sigh of relief. These young boys, they're not even men yet. Nothing will ever bring Ash back. And we'll never take away that hole that is now in our family, but just to get 100% justice.
The 2 16-year-olds will face court next month, also charged with burglary and theft. Queenslanders are bracing for what may be their second tropical cyclone in a month, with residents along the state's entire coast potentially at risk. The Weather Bureau is predicting the cell developing in the Coral Sea will make landfall as early as next week. This devastating news after Tropical Cyclone Jasper impacted almost 40,000 homes and businesses in the state's far north. Supermarkets will face a public inquiry over the widening gap between grocery prices and the wages of farmers. Queensland Premier Stephen Miles is expected to announce the news today after meeting with bosses from Coles, Woolworths and Aldi over financial discrepancies. The supermarkets have agreed to share information and analysis of their prices with Mr Miles, considering reducing grocery inflation. Borrowers are holding out hope the softening jobs market and stagnant consumer spending could lead to an interest rate cut. Economists believe the Reserve Bank will be forced to act if quarterly inflation figures published at the end of January fall by more than expected. It comes as the November unemployment rate remained at 3.9%, even as the participation rate shrunk. Severe storms have triggered a power outage across the south of Western Australia. Residents within Wheatbelt, Goldfields and Kalgoorlie are affected. Government agencies currently looking into the issue. Major hospitals are still functioning and police have ramped up patrols. Emergency services urging people to check and look after each other. A Queensland woman bitten by a deadly snake while she was sleeping has spoken out for the first time, recounting the terrifying near-death experience. Casey Leadbetter telling 9 News she was bitten by the brown snake while working on a rural cattle station west of Toowoomba.
I didn't see it, and I think that might have, helped keep me calm. I just remember just jumping out of bed straight away because it gave me such a fright, and I just remember holding my hand, and my hand just felt like it was on fire, and then I could feel it was starting to travel up my arm.
The 21-year-old sharing her story to raise awareness of snakebite first aid and how it saved her life. Woolworths has rubbished reports it would be flying Indigenous flags in its stores following a flare-up over their Australia Day merchandise decision. The company confirming the flags would fly alongside the Australian flag at some of its offices. This comes after a poll found only 1 in 5 Aussies support Peter Dutton's call for a Woolies boycott. Most voters more concerned with excessive price rises. Around 36 emergency callers per week in South Australia are being transported in taxis as the state grapples with a ramping crisis. According to News Corp, the ambulance service sent just over 4,300 patients by taxi between January 2021 to April 2023, costing nearly $122,000. A record number of ramping hours in November did manage to ease in December, dropping to nearly 3,600 hours. You're watching 9 News Early Edition, seen right across the country. Still to come this morning, a gunman disguised as a clown holds up a Brisbane service station. The terrifying ordeal is next. Plus, see the moment 100 cows make the great escape from an Aussie farm. And the $100 million Powerball draw jackpots after no Division 1 winner. We'll tell you how much is up for grabs after the break. You are watching 9 News Early. These are our top stories. Prince William has visited his wife, Princess Kate, in hospital as she recovers from an operation. Australian military bases could soon be used to test Japanese missiles, part of its development program. And Sydney-siders are being warned to keep out of the ocean after a surge of sewage in the harbour, riddling Bronte, Freshwater, Coogee and Clovelly. Developing this morning, the conflict in the Middle East is creeping wider, with Pakistan carrying out deadly retaliatory strikes on Iran. Joining us with his analysis, former Pentagon operative and White House advisor Tony Shaffer. Tony, thank you for your time this morning. Are these strikes one-off, or has Pakistan now been drawn itself into a longer conflict, do you think?
There's two parts to that answer. First, Pakistan and Iran have always been competitors. Remember, if the Saudi Arabians need nuclear weapons, they're going to turn to Pakistan. So the Sunni-Shia split, the Saudis being Sunni, the Iranians being Shia, have had a long-term conflict going back to the 10th century. With that said, the current round of exchanges of missiles is not helpful. What's ironic here is the Baluch group they targeted, the Iranians targeted, are anti-Pakistani. They're actually trying to separate from Pakistan. So it's really interesting that you saw this. But Pakistan had no choice but to do something to retaliate. So the answer is this. Iran is seeing itself as a nation which is able to go out and basically attack its neighbors without fear of retaliation. And so far to date, the issue that I think our two nations are most interested in, the Red Sea, the area where the Houthi are attacking, sponsored by the Iranians, is something that's troubling the world. So Iran is continuing to expand its effort to essentially use terrorist acts to establish a primacy within the region. That's why we're seeing this, and I think there'll be more of these sorts of things, unfortunately.
So, Tony, the US will be watching very closely. Do you expect a response from them?
I do. So the United States has been very close with the Pakistan nation. We've been working with them, and this is not a small issue. The fact that you now have seen an ally of the United States, Pakistan, attacked out of the blue. So I think that you're going to see, if all things are equal, the Blinken State Department and the Austin-led Department of Defense looking at options to do something back against Iran. Just as we're talking right now, there's been another attack by the U.S. Navy against Houthi anti-ship missiles in the area that we're talking about in the Red Sea. So I think we're talking right now about a potential expansion of this into the Pakistan-Iranish region. I think it's very possible.
So how much wider, how much further will this conflict widen, do you think? And is that inevitable?
I think it is, until there's some level of effective pushback against the mullahs, against the IRGC. They're going to continue to do this. And I think the danger, obviously, is expanding this past the current conflict to jeopardize all aspects of global commerce. That is to say, fuel coming out of the Middle East, as well as commerce going through the Red Sea. We could see a global net economic, recession caused by this war expanding. So it's something I think we all are concerned about. We should all work to stop the Iranians from these acts of aggression.
All right, Tony, thank you for your insights this morning. Really appreciate your time.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been revealed this morning that the police response to the 2022 mass shooting at a school in Uvalde, Texas was a failure. That is the blunt conclusion this morning from the US Justice Department in a new 575-page report on the massacre. 19 students and 2 teachers were killed in the rampage. In a rare move, Japan Airlines has named a woman as its next president for the first time. The new president joined the carrier as a flight attendant in 1985 before working her way up. An Ecuadorian prosecutor who was reportedly leading an investigation into an attack on a local TV network has been assassinated. 2 men have been arrested over the murder. The lead prosecutor was gunned down in his car. There's been a frightening ordeal for a service station worker after a gunman in a clown mask ran into a Brisbane store before fleeing with an entire drawer full of cash. CCTV from December 29 shows the masked man pounce on the Holland Park petrol station around 7:30 p.m. The man remains on the run and is described as being of slim build with long, dark hair. You could soon be paying more for your cocktails as Australia's alcohol tax is expected to rise again next month. Beer lovers could pay more than $15 a pint, while spirits expect to climb higher than $100 a litre. The federal government now facing pressure from distilleries, now considering a move overseas to dodge the hike. 3 boaties are counting their lucky stars after an early morning rescue 5 kilometres off Western Australia's Karnak Island. The fishermen's catamaran capsizing and taking on water.
Waving out to their rescuers after making a morning mayday call.
This is Coast Radio First. Please, absolute speed towards this location. There are 3 people on an upturned hull.
The fishermen were 3 nautical miles west of Karnak Island when their catamaran started taking on water.
One motor was working, one motor wasn't, and they couldn't navigate in a straight line, so they're doing circles.
The 6-metre vessel capsized before they could access their emergency beacon and all 3 life jackets. Quick on the scene, water police dragged the men, aged in their 50s and 60s, to safety one by one.
They were calm and collected. They were only upturned on the vessel for a short time. I think that they would have seen the helicopter coming from a fair way away, and I think that probably made them at ease that they were being rescued.
Water police say all boaties should aim to retrieve their safety gear within 30 seconds in the case of an emergency, and they're urging anyone heading out to check that they can do just that before hitting the water.
These guys did the right thing. They had multiple ways of notifying authorities that they were in trouble.
Their task now, retrieving their upturned boat left at sea. Jamie Freestone, 9 News.
Drivers on Sydney's WestConnex will soon have a faster ride with plans to raise the speed limit within the next 2 months. The change to 90 kilometres an hour comes despite concerns on the potential impact on roads near the troubled Rozelle interchange in the city's inner west. New speed limit tests will be conducted during scheduled tunnel maintenance. Victorians will have the chance to decide the next 6 women to be honoured with a statue or public artwork as part of the push to recognise more of our famous females. 9 News can reveal the state government is spending $1.2 million on the pieces. Nathan Curry has more.
The best players in women's tennis are busy competing for the same amount of prize money as the men, and that's been made possible by the pioneering efforts of Australian great Judy Dalton.
It was tough in those days because people didn't recognise women per se.
The 4-time Australian Open doubles champion paved the way for professional women and rightly has a statue in her honour at Melbourne Park. But when it comes to statues, sculptures and other public art, it's still not a level playing field.
There are 583 statues of men, horses or dogs across Melbourne and only 12 statues of women.
The state government honoured 6 women last year and it's now planning 6 more.
There's so many more stories to be unveiled and told here in Victoria of women's achievements.
They don't have to be sporting stars, but given the AO, athletes are front of mind.
Steph Catley.
Pretty good candidate.
Well, perfect, isn't it?
A female AFL
the female
player.
AFL who did the kick. We've got no name.
The kick.
Taylor Harris.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Her. Because I think she's a brilliant sportswoman, but awesome leader.
From here, the plan is to put together a short list of finalists over the next few months. Victorians will then get the chance to jump online, have a read of the achievements of those women, and then vote on who should be the next 6 to get the honour.
I don't think there's any other women like us. Yeah, no one like us. Just Sarum and Sarah. Vote for us, guys.
Nathan Curry, 9 News.
It's Australia's second biggest Powerball jackpot, the mega $150 million prize up for grabs in next Thursday night's draw. No ticket scored a Division 1 winning entry last night, triggering the game's prize to roll higher for the 5th consecutive week. It will be the largest jackpot in Australian history since 20 people shared $160 million in 2022. And in a scene of utter chaos, 100 cows have made a great escape from a property in Melbourne's southeast. The herd broke loose early yesterday morning and didn't waste any time exploring the Pakenham neighbourhood, even managing a pit stop at a local Dan Murphy's. Police managed to move the herd back onto council land within a few hours. And still to come this morning, all of the day's sports news. Aussies fight to stay in the Australian Open. Australia on the brink of victory in Adelaide. And the Socceroos book their ticket to the next stage of the Asian Cup. Tanasi Kokkinakis and Ayla Tomljanovic have been knocked out of the Australian Open after second round defeats. Tom Marriott has more.
Tanasi Kokkinakis had never been past the second round at Melbourne Park. That trend looked like continuing when 13th seed Grigor Dimitrov flew to a 2-0 lead.
Oh my goodness.
The people in the People's Court kept lending their voice as Kokkinakis started to find his groove.
Well, there you go.
John Cain Arena doing it again as Tanasi pulled one back.
There is the set.
The Australian sensationally saved 4 break points early in the 4th set, but neither he or the crowd could hold off the Bulgarian much longer.
A fight up, Grigor Dimitrov.
Ayla Tomljanovic reignited her rivalry with Jelena Ostapenko. The two were famously involved in an on-court argument at Wimbledon. The Latvian let her racket do the early talking. 6-love.
And there's the reason why.
The Australian bounced back and buoyed by the JCA crowd, drew level.
What a fight back!
But Ostapenko, who won a Grand Slam aged just 20, knows how to deal with pressure and clinched the match 6-4 in the decider. Tom Marriott, 9 News.
Australia will be looking to wrap up the first test today after taking 6 West Indies wickets on the second afternoon in Adelaide. Josh Hazlewood has 4 for 18, already giving him 8 wickets for the match.
It's yeah. It's predictable. It goes into the buckets of Steve Smith.
West Indies will resume for 6 for 73 this morning, still trailing by 22 runs. The Socceroos have secured their spot in the Asian Cup round of 16. Australia recorded a 1-0 win over Syria in Qatar. Jackson Irvine breaking the deadlock, scoring midway through the second half. NRL and Dragons coach Shane Flanagan has defended his club's treatment of young signing Ronald Volkman, who's been left without a team after he was found to have a serious shoulder injury.
Didn't we do our due diligence with scanning him properly? Our physios and medical department checked him over. We did some drills with him and realised that there wasn't something right. We got scans.
The Dragons play the Dolphins in Redcliffe in round 1. Stay with us. All the weather details are coming up after the break. Time now for a check of today's weather. And around the country today, Brisbane, showers and a top of 33. Sydney, nice and sunny and 28 degrees. Melbourne, a shower or 2, tops of 21. Perth, a partly cloudy and 28. Darwin, 32 and a possible storm. That is all of that's all from us on Nine's Early News. The Today Show